Let's see some more examples on this question. Every student in this class, I'm taking the same model because it will give you kind of comparison. Okay, every student in this class has taken either, let us say, operating systems or DBMS, if this is the question. Now let us say the domain of disclosure which we want to use, assume that it is just limited to the classroom. This is the domain of the disclosure, which means when we talk about the variable x, x will always mean that x is a student inside the class. Then it is very simple, straightforward. For every student in the class, for every x should have taken either operating systems or DBMS. Okay, d of x, isn't it? Straightforward. Now if I want to extend the domain, like if I want to talk about all the people in the world, not just the people in the class, then you know how to do it. For all x, if x is a student in the class, then x should have taken operating systems or DBMS, and since the precedence of implies is more than the precedence of or, it is better that you put a bracket here so that it will be given higher precedence. Right? Now why do you think that it is true? So if every student in the class has taken either operating system or DBMS, then this entire thing should be true, isn't it? Let's see if it is going to happen or not. Now when you take any student or any person who is not inside the class, then what happens is the student of x, this one will become false. When this one becomes false, when this particular thing becomes false, then this entire thing becomes true, which means the people who are outside the classroom, they are not going to affect the result. We don't want to worry about them, since for all is nothing but a collection of conjunctions, right? Isn't it? So we take a person and we see what his values for this one is, and then we take the next person and we see what the value he returns for this total expression. So since we are going to take the conjunction of all these people, since some of them are true, they will not affect the final result, which means the people who are outside the classroom will not affect our final answer. Now who should affect our answer? Only the people who are inside the classroom, right? For that reason, if students s of x is true, which means the student is present inside the classroom, if this one is true, right, then this entire statement will be true only when this is true, which means if for every student for whom this statement has become true, which means for every student inside the class, he has to take operating systems or DBMS, then only this one will be true. If let us say for a student inside the class, if he has not taken both of this, then this one will be false, as a result of which true and false, this entire statement will become false, and even for one value if this statement becomes false, for all will become false, isn't it? That is why it is right. Now if you try to do something like this, for all x, s of x and o of x or d of x, if you try to do like this, what is the problem with this one? Can you just think about it? The problem with this one is, for every x, this entire statement has to be true, then only it is going to be true. Let us assume the case in which every student in the class has taken operating system or DBMS. Then we are expecting that this entire thing should be true because the statement is true, but it will be false. This statement will be false. The reason is simple. When you take a person who is not inside the classroom, this itself will become false. And when you take false and something, then entire thing is going to be false, which means we are able to find a value, or we are able to get false for one value, at least one value who is outside the classroom, and so this entire thing is going to be a false, which means irrespective of whether the students in the classroom has taken the course or not, we are not even checking it, we are directly saying that this entire statement is false. So that is why it is wrong. Got it? So this is right and this is wrong. So that is how we have to evaluate it. Now that is why the reason why implication is also having that kind of table. Whenever we deal with the people or the domain which we are not concerned about, then if we get a false here, it will not affect the final answer when implication is used with for all. Got it? Okay, now let's say let's try to just change it a bit. Now let us assume that instead of every student, let us say some student in the class has taken either DBMS or OS. Now what do you want to do? We know that whenever I use some, there has to be there exists, right? So in case if the domain is not the entire the entire world, in case if the domain is just the students of the class, then how can you do it? There exists at least one student in the class who has taken either operating systems or DBMS. You can directly write like this and it is done, isn't it? Now if you want to consider the entire domain, which means if you want to consider all the people in the world and if you want to talk about them, then you could go this way. There exists some x in such a way that x is a student and that student might have taken either operating systems or DBMS. Now let's see or argue why this one is true. Now let us assume that there exists at least one student x1 inside the classroom who has taken operating system. Then this statement has to be true because there is at least some student in the classroom who has taken either operating system or DBMS, isn't it? Now there is at least some x1 inside the class for which it has to be true. Now let's see whether it happens or not. Now what happens to the people who are outside the classroom? If they are outside the classroom, then this one will return false, and so this entire thing will become false. Therefore for all the people outside the classroom, we keep on getting false and they never can affect there exists. The reason is when I applied there exists, it is a collection of disjunctions, isn't it? Now as long as people outside the classroom are returning me false values, the actual truth value of this there exists statement will only be dependent on the students inside the classroom, which means only for the students, people who are inside the classroom, which means only for the students, this one will first return true, and whenever this particular thing has returned true, what does it mean? We are talking about the students inside the class. Then only we'll check this. Let us say for one value, only one student x1 has taken operating system and none of them has taken any other course. Still this one will become true, this one will become false, let us assume that, and this entire thing is going to be true. So what does it mean? When you keep on substituting these values of all these people in the statement, for some value x1 we are getting a value true, and for all the remaining values, even if you get it false, that doesn't matter, the entire statement is going to be true. Did you understand this? So why does this work? Because there exists is nothing but a collection of disjunctions with all the values substituted. Got it? And whenever a value is not present inside the classroom, which means if a person is not present inside the classroom, he is simply returning false. Therefore they will never affect the final answer. So who can affect the final answer? Only the students inside the class. That is what we wanted, isn't it? Now only the students inside the classroom can affect the final answer, and the final answer will be true if we can find out at least one value inside the classroom, one student inside the classroom who has taken any of these two courses. In case if there exists any such student, then for that particular student this entire statement will be true, and that is enough to say that this entire statement is true. Got it? Now you might ask me, why can't we write like this? See, this is the most confusing part probably in the entire computer science, or probably in this subject at least. If you can understand it, hope you can think that you can answer anything in this subject. Okay, now you might ask me this: for all x, s of x implies O of x, or there exists x such that s of x implies O of x or d of x. Why do you think that it does not convey the same meaning as that statement? You might ask me that, right? So what is your question? Why can't we write like this? There exists some student x in such, there exists some person x. If that person x is a student, then he has taken operating systems or DBMS. Why can't we write it that way? The reason is simple. Now if that particular person is not a student, this one will become false, which means even without getting into the classroom, we are able to find a false value here outside the classroom. And whenever this one is false, we know that whenever left side is false, the entire implication is going to be true, right? And therefore we will declare that we have found out some value of x for which this entire value is true, and therefore this entire thing is true, which means even without looking into the classroom for a student, we are declaring that this entire thing is true. So even if no one has taken either operating systems or DBMS, if you write like this, will come out saying that someone has taken DBMS or operating system without even checking that, right? So if it is confusing, remember this way: in most of the cases, whenever you see every, the answer will be, in 99% of the cases, the answer will be for all followed by implication. Whenever you see some, or there exists some, like that, then the answer will be there exists followed by and. Having said that, if you understood all this, please don't go blindly, just check the answers and see why they are right and why they are wrong. Okay, I think you understood how to argue whether why a statement is right and why a statement is wrong. I'll do one thing. I'll take some few more examples and I'll explain you how to deal with this. This might be difficult, but if you understand this, it will be easy. These questions will be very easy. Okay.
Hi, if you are planning to do masters, then doing masters abroad is better than doing masters in India. I'll give you all the reasons. So, first reason is, out of 1 lakh students who take GATE every year, there are only 500 seats in old IITs. So all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%, and IITs, universities better than IITs, they have very good acceptance rate like 30%, 40%. But all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%. And if you are working hard to get into IIT Bombay's ranking is 177 and IIT Roorkee's ranking is 400. If you are happy to get into IIT Roorkee, then getting into universities better than IIT Roorkee is easier compared to getting into IIT Roorkee. And looking at the salaries for computer science, for software jobs, if you have done your masters in computer science in US, the salaries are ranging from 80 lakhs per year to 1.2 crore per year. So even if you take an average of 1 crore per year, your savings will be much higher than the salaries in India. After taxes and your cost of living, you can easily save 40 to 50 lakhs per year. And in India, the maximum jobs that you get is around 30 lakhs. So your savings will be much greater than the salaries in India. And these are all the services that we provide. University shortlisting. So depending on your profile, we will shortlist what are the universities that you have to apply. And statement of purpose building. and then LOR guidance, and GRE and English test assistance, and education loan assistance. So you don't have to have any collateral, which means without any security, now you can get education loan. Getting education loan is very simple these days, and whatever the amount of fee that you have a range of universities. You can apply for 10 lakh universities, 20 lakh universities, or 50 lakh universities. But whatever it is, you are going to get complete education loan, and you can pay off your education loan in 1 year after you get a job. And then we do visa assistance, mock visa interviews, and then connecting with the university alumni. So now you might ask why we should join Game of Visas. So the answer is we have 90% success rate, 99% success rate. And these are all the destinations that we guide the students to. So we guide students to any country that you want to go. So now it is not just USA. We guide to UK, Germany, Australia, Canada. So we guide students to all the countries. We work with all the destinations. And if you are interested in going abroad, you have to just drop us a message on this WhatsApp number 9494 555 454. Okay, thank you.